Hey Clashes, a successful Legend season is coming to an end, and yes, I built some bases again for some of my friends. Yes, I will share everything about those bases in this video with you guys, that you know how I built those bases, what was the thought process behind it, that you can hopefully build your own bases after watching this video. But yes, as well, I will share all of the base links down below the description. But who did I build for? Well, first off, I did go for Sloth, a really good friend of mine over all of the years of content creation, obviously the biggest Clash creator out there. And next to him as well, a pro player, Hawk or Mammoth, who plays well in the World Championship, a really talented player, and with the support and help of my bases, he was able to not just finish once in the top 10, no, rank 1, rank 2, and rank 9 with his accounts, which is obviously a really big achievement. So huge congrats to those two guys, and I thought I would just share all of the bases, and obviously the more important thing, how I built them. Why did I build them? To make sure that everyone understands base building a little bit better, because this video hopefully proves that you can have a lot of impact with your bases on your final rank if you're actually good at it. Let's get things started. Invis Towers. We're starting things off the same way as we finished last season, and that is with Invis Tower bases. They were super popular, mostly used as ring base with like a Rage Tower maybe in the core. I tried something different where the Invis Towers are really far on the outside to make sure the pathing of Root Riders and Dragons is a little bit messed up. And it worked somewhat decent, because if the Invis Tower is not triggered early on, it is really painful to have them on the flanks. And then as if finally something is going into them, well, they're getting turned invisible and everything is going back to the core and is getting fired at non-stop. So it did work successfully, but just not as good as I was hoping for. So I was thinking, okay, what is the next step? Like, what should I go for? Because Invis Tower, people were just getting better at attacking them, especially in higher legends. So I thought, let's just go with a ring base, because this has worked before. But remove the Invis Tower and go with the Poison Towers. This is something which others had already success with, so I just tried to have my own spin on it and like my own version of it. And this base was probably the base of the season. Everyone tried to run it, because this base brought Judo close to the top 10 global, and it brought the first two accounts of Mammoth actually into the top 10, with eventually using it more. He had all of the accounts then in the top 10, and as well for Judo, he had the spot within the top 10 because of this base as well. But why did it work so well, and what was the thought process of me behind building this base? Well, first off, having the Town Hall for Town Hall 17, it's weaker obviously than Town Hall 16. But there is one advantage with which, like, what this Town Hall has compared to Town Hall 16, and that is the range. How can you utilize the range? Well, if you put it in the core and have everything surrounding it, having the pathing into that Town Hall really awkward, well, there you go. You have a Town Hall which is firing non-stop, leaving those little lava pools around, which deals a lot of splash damage, and especially, that's the most important thing, having as well damaging the healers. What is then good as well to take down the healers? That's right, Poison Towers. So this is kind of the way on how this base style really works, of having all of this splash around. And because I felt like having only the Town Hall in the core is just not enough damage output, because the Town Hall itself is more splash orientated, I thought, let's just put the, well, Monolith over there as well. But how did this base then defend that well? Because you could just interrupt the ring. Well, I wanted to give the attacker a good chance of going from a specific side. Because if you look at the base, it is in some way symmetric. Which means, if you take a look on the top left side, we have a lot of defenses there, right? We have like this one small compartment, then the bigger compartment with the Poison Tower in there and all of the damage. And in some way we have the same setup as well on the bottom left side. As well, really a lot of damage, but this time covered by the Giga Bomb. But people really want to interrupt the ring as quickly as possible. And with that in mind, I created one compartment which just looks weaker than every other compartment, which was the bottom right compartment, because there's a little bit of less space. And as well, there's a couple of less defenses. So I thought, if people are going in there, where would they enter? And I was thinking, okay, they want to get rid of the Giga Bomb as early as possible, so they would guaranteed enter from the bottom side. So I tried to deploy a lot of traps against that, and that's trying to get into the head of your opponent. As well, if you take a look at the sweepers, this is the closest any defense from the core is to the outside defenses, which means if you're entering from the bottom side, it's the most likelihood, with the Root Riders for example, that something is going to split into the core. And that was the thought process. Try to force the attacker into a certain direction, and those two things combined did the trick. And I tried to stack everything against it. In the beginning, it did defend already well, but people were slowly catching up. And the red mine farm was triggered quite early a lot of times. So I thought, let's just do some adjustments and make this base even better. And in the end, then, this is kind of the version I ended up with. Which means I moved the red mine farm a little bit further back, I added more black mines to really take down the test loons, and I made the top right side a bit more annoying for royal champion charges. Because people slowly figured out, especially with people like copying the base like crazy, that the bottom side is trapped. So they were going for the fire spirit on the top right side to make sure that, well, they have an easier entry with the royal champion. But with adding the Tesla and as well the mortar over there, the pathing into the fire spitters is super annoying and is super unreliable. This has messed up many people because they have not checked that the Tesla were there, they did not see that, well, there is the mortar, for example. So that has worked as well amazing. So another then tweaked version which worked really successful. But I will just show you how the best strategies in High Legends perform versus the base so you can see yourself how this base actually worked. As well, High Legends, and we all know, is mostly Root Riders, but as well, some Dragon Attackers are up there as well. And I know people are saying, like, Dragons are just so strong, they're the best troop. If you're in High Legends, you know that it's like 80 to 90% Root Riders, because there is no counterplay to them compared to, for example, Dragons. Yes, you can counter the Root Riders in some way with the pathing. This is why we have this really compact core of defenses, or like ring of defenses around the core. But Dragons, there is just ways to counter them with traps. There is no black mine for ground troops, spring trap, but Root Riders don't really care. So this is just that air is just overall weaker than ground. That's how it is. I mean, there's no way around it. Air is easier though. This is why you see it more in Middle Legends rounds. But let's get back to the attack. I tried to create a core where it's just not looking as much value when you want to play a blimp. Especially out of those cloned Yeti blimp attackers, if they would go for the core here, yes, it would be a guaranteed 2-star, but power-wise with the flanks, it could be a little bit tricky. This is why this attacker went for the far side to have like not the defense on the new defense on the back end, but this then caused that the core did not go down. With the core going down with the cloned Yetis, for example, that would have been nice, but the value of the blimp would have been not as crazy. So it's really the trade-off. In the end, it's even a 1-star, and this is another reason why those type of ring bases work always great in Legends. If something is going wrong, oh boy, something is going really wrong. The next style of attack, which is just super popular, as I said, I would say around 80 to 90% of the attacks in High Legends are Root Riders. There is typically two versions of Root Riders. The one option is with the Royal Champion charge, with or without the King. And then we have this type of entry where the King is funneling, and then we're kind of like having the Root Rider part after. So we're pretty much replacing the Royal Champion charge with the King dive, which with the Spiky Ball and with the Earthquake Boots still gets a lot of value. But now we're getting into the problem where, well, the Sweeper are pushing back the healers, and there's nothing really going to the core, because we have this super close by close ring around the core of defenses, and the Root Riders will just not leave this ring. He tried to interrupt this ring now with adding an overgrowth, and yes, he got the Town Hall, but still, having this percentage, I think everyone can be happy with, especially in this meta if you're high up on Legends. The base overall did amazing for Judo and as well for Mammoth. As I said, it really got them into the higher ranks in the beginning, and that was really the moment where we were saying, well, this might be your season, guys. So this is why I kept building and trying to like build new stuff. But if you have already watched my videos, you know me, I just don't like to copy bases from others really too much. I like to try to invent my own stuff. So I tried to go and continue with this style, but added Rage Towers. Well, I can spoil you already. This did not work out as great. There is a reason why people are using Poison Towers. It slows down the attack, and let's be honest, the Royal Champion charge will get those compartments anyways. Even though I have stacked every single possible, like, giant bomb and everything around it, this Royal Champ just does not care. You need to slow it down somehow, and that's like the Poison Tower right now. I feel like that's the best bet. I don't know how other say this. So it's still defended better on average than some of the other bases, which we have seen from other people, which they were running. But it just did not defend on the same level as I was hoping for, and I was like trying to push my own bases to, for example. So I went back to the double poison ring base, but this time I tried to have another twist on it, which means a different outside compartment setup. On this one I tried, well, to keep the core, obviously, right? Like the Monolith and the Town Hall together in the core worked really great for me and my bases, so I thought, let's just keep that. I had the clan castle now further in the core. I'll be honest, not sure if I really like that too much, but still, I have the fire spirit setup, which kind of got my classic move, which I feel like at this point people were then like figuring out, oh, that's an iTzu base as soon as they saw the setup, like pointing at each other right somewhere in this outside defense ring because no one else did that before. And otherwise, again, keeping that outside ring. That is the most important thing about this style of base. And then the builder hut. Builder huts around the base to try to cover as many defenses to slow down the royal champion charge. Cover as well the core if possible, if there's like some damage in a way. And then on top of that, I tried to make the pathing overall a bit more awkward. For example, you can't really get into the fire spirits as easily. We have those Tesla on the corners to really prevent the pathing of the royal champion to be too predictable. And then we have those Tesla around the heroes to make sure the heroes are getting for sure guaranteed value. As well, something like adding storages in front of the inner ring to make sure that the royal champion charge always has to go around the outside, and you have to waste a lot of invis spells to really get to the value where you're actually going for. Because as a royal champion charge attacker, you have to interrupt the ring. Otherwise, your root riders or your dragons will just fly everywhere, and that's never a good really thing for you to happen. So those were then the bases which I kept continuing building, and I will have all of the bases linked down below in the description. I don't have every single base in this video showcased to you. That would be just too much, to be honest. But I kind of hope that I was able to like explain to you a little bit better how I built those double poison tower bases, because that was really the name of this season, the double poison ring style bases, and then trying to find different versions of it on how to like adjust them to really make them powerful. And well, I hope you were able to learn something in this video. A huge shout out again goes to Judo and to Mammoth for actually first off like, trusting into my bases, and I'm super happy that they were able to accomplish this, as well to prevent some hate, because I know people were already, I mean, people are, well, some, I'm a nice guy today. Some people are just quite stupid and would just blame it on like a max base or something. But I mean, most pros have a max base. You're competing versus the top players versus those, like for those top ranks. And those typically who are not max would not reach those top ranks anyway. So that's kind of how it is. I mean, let's just face it. So really impressive by those two, claiming 4 out of the 10 global top 10 spots. So really, really great job. And congrats to them again for their high finishes. And I hope you liked this video. As I said, hope you learned something new, and thank you so much for watching the video. The links, as I already explained, are down below in the description. I will see hopefully you guys back tomorrow with the next class video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.